I'm Suresh Goyal, President North America of Global Home Media and publisher and managing editor of South Asian Outlook Electronic Monthly. Global Home Media is an international venture operating from Canada and Europe. The word global home combines global and the Sanskrit word om, emphasizing that despite social, cultural, political, and economic diversity and disparities, we are living in one world. Since July 2001, Global Home Media has been publishing South Asian Outlook Electronic Monthly, which is available on southasianoutlook.com. Global Home Media launched South Asian Outlook, featuring GTA candidates for Canada's election for January 23rd this year. Since then, we have started the bi-weekly program, which is available on torontotv.org, 10 a.m., 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the English channel, which is channel 4. It's available for the next 14 days after the bi-weekly program is recorded. Today our guest is Ms. Karen Campbell, President and CEO of Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance. Welcome to the show, Ms. Campbell.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Karen, the Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance, you have been with it from the very beginning. When was it formed and what is the role of this alliance?
Well, the GTMA got off the ground in 1998, and its mission is to internationally promote the Greater Toronto Area for attracting foreign investment to come into the region, companies that will come and set up branches and subsidiaries and create jobs for Canadians.
And how far you have been successful and what countries you have put the emphasis on for attracting investment to the Greater Toronto?
Well, so far we've assisted over 40 companies that have invested and set up operations in the Greater Toronto Area, and we've dealt with well over 1,000 other leads and prospects that are in various stages of considering investing. And so far, our emphasis, of course, has been on the United States, at least at the beginning, because that's our largest source of foreign direct investment that comes into Canada and specifically into the Toronto area. But over the last couple of years, we have started to diversify the target markets that we're interested in. First of all, we broadened into Europe and with a particular emphasis on the United Kingdom. And about 2 years ago, we decided that Asia should be a market that we're working in. And we decided to start with India as our target market in Asia, primarily because we'd already had a number of major multinational Indian corporations express interest in looking at the Greater Toronto Area, and several of them actually have now set up operations here. So we felt that there was good potential in looking at that market.
It's interesting that Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance has been looking at Asia, and specifically India in this case, which has a population of over 1 billion people right now. And let's say the middle level income people is about 500 million, which is more than the population of the USA. Now, I'm sure you're aware of the history between Canada and India. In 1974, India exploded a nuclear device, and from then on, Canada put a hold on every particular dealing with India. There was a big gap, about 24 years gap. 1996, 22 years gap actually. 1996, Jen Chrétien decided that he would go to India, the then Prime Minister, and he led a mission to India at that time, which was like Team Canada mission, which he led to various parts in the world also. 2 years later, India exploded some more nuclear devices, and then there was a complete hold again, which lasted for about 3 years. John Manley, when he was the Foreign Affairs Minister, he declared in 2001 that he would not be anymore against trade with India, so they started again, and he went to India in 2002. 2003, I think Jen Chrétien led another mission, and 2005 was Prime Minister Martin, the last Prime Minister's mission to India. So it's interesting to know that Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance decided to focus on India, and your first mission was in 2005?
That's correct.
I see.
Yeah. I think we were one of the first municipal groups to take an investment mission to India. We differentiate between trade missions and investment missions because the purpose in our going to India is to promote Indian investment coming to Canada as opposed to the other way around. So our objectives are a little bit different, although we recognize that two-way trade is an imperative before we can get investment as well. And really it has only been in the last 5 years that Indian companies have started looking globally and starting to go more globally. So we felt that we were at the leading edge of the trend, and we decided we would go independently of any other trade delegations. But it is beneficial to have Team Canada going, as well as the Premier of our province has plans to go in January of 2007. So we consider ourselves leaders in this area, and we think it's going to pay. We are hoping it will pay off in the long run.
I'm sure that the Team Canada mission, you do get some sort of exposure, or the businessmen in India or industrialists in India get an exposure to Canada as such, and that makes it easier for you to go when you go in.
Well, I think we as a country need to just generally raise our profile. It isn't really enough that just one group goes. It does require a lot of different groups going to raise the profile of the country as a whole. And it does require repetition. You mentioned that last year was our first mission. We do have a 3-year plan. This was our 2nd year of that plan, and we do plan to go again next year as well. And then we'll kind of step back and evaluate the success that we've had. You can't just measure it after one trip. So it's a long-term process. It's also very important to build relationships and alliances with people in India or any foreign country that we go to. These things don't happen overnight. A decision to open up a new facility in a foreign country is part of a long-term strategic plan. It takes companies a long time to make those decisions. So you do have to keep working at it, keep going back.
Banging on the door, as they call it.
Banging on the door. As I mentioned, we are a marketing group, so part of our objective is just to raise the profile of the area generally, get people thinking about Canada as a gateway into North America. Another objective of ours was to actually generate investment leads, and we actually got about 12 companies that specifically said they have an interest, and we have one of those companies is coming here next month, so that's tangible evidence that they're very serious to come. The other thing is we do want to learn about India and better understand what is happening there in terms of economic trends and opportunities, and to understand where does Canada fit in, say, this whole aspect of outsourcing, which of course India is benefiting from tremendously, but is there a role for Canada in that as well, and where do we fit into that? And just generally we are trying to, as I mentioned, raise our awareness of companies that are in the Greater Toronto Area that are seeking business opportunities too.
The one company that you mentioned, which is coming next year to Canada.
Next month.
Next month to Canada, sorry. Good. Is this part of the result of the first or the second mission that you took to India this year?
No, it's a result of, we met this company this year. Now, that was a good coincidence, but they were primed and ready to come. And now what our organization can do for that company is provide them with the contacts and connections, both through business as well as our government contacts, to help them get the information that they need to better understand our market and to determine what they would need to do to actually set up. And we offer our services free of charge. So it's a really great value added that we're, as a single point of contact for the whole Greater Toronto Area, it makes it much easier for a company to come and within a very relatively short period of time meet a lot of people, get a lot of information, probably speeds up the process greatly for them. So we'll actually help set up meetings for the company when they come here and organize their itinerary.
What will they establish here, you mean?
Yeah, in terms of, we're having connections by email now with the company saying, who would you like to meet with? What do you want to learn about? So we bring that expertise to the table to help them make a decision.
And from the last, let's say, in the 2 years, the 2 missions that you've taken, how many other positive leads you have for the companies who are prepared to come into Greater Toronto? Well,
I think a good example would be we met somebody last year on our mission who at that point in time was not in a position to expand. But when we came back a second time, we contacted that individual again. He said, timing is perfect. I've now landed some business in Canada and I'm seriously looking at opening an office. So that was actually a result of the first mission. But if we hadn't have gone back again and reestablished that contact, they may or may not have contacted us, and now we're in connection with that company. So it just goes back to timing is everything. Meeting people, allowing them to know who we are, what we do, how we can help them. Hopefully when they're ready to do something, they will, I was going to say pick up the phone, but nowadays they will send us an email, since that's not really practical to phone from India. And that's really, as I said, what it's all about is repetition, gaining awareness of what we do, how we can help, and just keep on plugging away at that.
You mean it's not practical to phone from India because of the time difference?
Yes, I mean it's just more difficult to coordinate with timing, but it's I find as soon as we get back from a trip from India, we get all kinds of emails from India. They email us right away of their interests. More so, I think, than other countries we've been to.
Now, this is a private and government partnership?
Yeah, that's correct. The GTMA it's a not-for-profit corporation, but it is a public-private partnership. And the public side there are 29 municipalities and regions in the Greater Toronto area. So that's all the communities that are in Halton, Peel, York, Durham, and the City of Toronto are our municipal partners. But we also have private companies that are interested in seeing the economy of the region grow. And they support us financially, but they also provide us with business expertise and contacts. So they work with us as part of our sales team when we're working with foreign companies.
So you have been in this from the very beginning?
I have, yes.
I see. How many staff you have in this organization?
Well, we're quite a lean organization. We have 6 people on staff, but really how we work is through our alliances with other organizations. So we're really the generalists, and we bring in specific expertise as we need it, including sector expertise, or if we need legal advice or accounting or any of those financing, we bring that as part of our partnership.
Do you have any plans to open an office in India or other countries in the world?
You know, we're really not in a position to be doing that. What we do is we work very closely with the Canadian consulates, embassies, high commissions that are all over the world. And also our Ontario government is now starting to reopen international marketing centers. And one of the things that we did on our trip to India was attend the official opening of the Ontario Marketing Center in New Delhi. They have co-located an individual in the Canadian High Commission, and that person will be looking out for the interests of Ontario in drumming up business and trade opportunities. So instead of us trying to do that on our own, we are working through our provincial and federal representatives. We also do work really closely with foreign consulates that are here in Toronto as well, including the Indian consulate, who was also very supportive of our mission and helped to brief our delegation. So if a foreign consulate was to get an inquiry from someone from their own country, again, they know that they can refer that leader prospect to us.
It's an interesting cooperation between various levels.
There's a broad network out there internationally. It's very important to stay networked with as many people as possible because we can't all be everywhere, all over the world. So it's absolutely impossible. So even if you had 10 times the number of people we have, we still couldn't really be everywhere. So I think that's our philosophy, is really to work through the partnerships and alliances.
I think the Manitoba Premier, Gary Doyle, he also led a mission to India.
He was there at the exact same.
This year, yeah.
He was there the exact same week that we were there.
Did you happen to be in one city at a time, or
did we
happen to be in one city at a time?
We went to Mumbai to start with, and that is actually the Premier of Manitoba was in Mumbai the same time we were. But then we went to New Delhi after that, and that's when the Ontario government had their opening of their office. But we spent our time in in Mumbai was actually focused on the NASSCOM conference, which is the Premier Software and Services show for the Indian IT sector. And we went to that last year and concluded that that was a really good venue to go to meet all these different IT companies that tend to congregate there for 3 days. And you really get the chairman of those companies, senior executives do go there. So we use that as a place to...
maximum exposure, basically.
Yeah, and also to try to set up, we did set up one-on-one meetings with companies that were attending that show. That's part of our strategy. We also work closely with the Confederation of Indian Industry as well, both in Mumbai and in New Delhi. And we had seminar presentations for some of their members who have an interest in Canada. So we would do overview presentations about the Greater Toronto Area, talk about how we can work and assist those companies. And we find that's an effective route to go as well.
Other than India, in Asia, or there's South Asia, which other countries the mission has, the alliance has made trips or done
Well, we
something?
actually haven't made any other trips in Asia. As I said, we've just done India twice. I think we're really monitoring China. A lot of people have asked us, why are we not in China? That's an obvious question. Because our objective is looking at outbound foreign investment, we're finding, again, the Chinese are not really doing a lot of outbound investment in terms of setting up actual companies. They're doing a lot of investing in terms of acquiring companies, particularly resource-related companies here in Canada. But that's not really our objective. We want to see companies that are going to come here, set up operations, and create jobs here in Canada. And I think that's going to be coming from China, but it's still early days for the outbound. We think India is further along in that spectrum, but we're certainly keeping monitoring China since it's such a huge market. We have had some Japanese investment that has set up in the Greater Toronto Area. We have had interest from Taiwan as well.
And what is the interest from US and Europe, especially UK and Europe?
Well, it's the UK, our target sectors there are actually in the information technology sector, and that has been primarily the UK companies that we've worked with. Majority of them have had an IT slant to them. The US is really across the board. It can be
Anywhere,
anything, anywhere. Everything from, again, information technologies to distribution centers to manufacturing. So it's, I'd say it's just more broadly based because it just reflects the type of how integrated our two economies are, that it's not all in one particular sector.
The cost advantage was there when the US dollar was not so high, or was high rather, compared to the Canadian currency. But with the Canadian dollar going up against the US, don't you think the cost advantage is no longer there for the US?
Yeah, we're definitely, that advantage is eroding, that is for sure. We still maintain a small cost advantage, which always helps. It's at least it's something that we can talk about. But I think our primary reasons why foreign companies are considering the Greater Toronto Area are they want to access the North American marketplace. They want to get in somehow. And a lot of them are more comfortable entering that marketplace through Canada. Especially, for instance, Europeans often tell us that they see Canada as a little bit more European in our outlook in some of our practices. And there's a comfort level there. And similarly, there's some, I think, advantages that we have for attracting Asian investment as well. I think our openness to diversity and multiculturalism makes a very big difference, and we promote that a lot. And our immigration policies in Canada make it easier in a lot of cases to bring skilled workers into our country than into the U.S., particularly in the information technology sector where they have quotas on visas that fill up very quickly.
In the US,
the H-1B visa, we don't have those kinds of quotas. And I can tell you our Asian investors know that. They're quite well aware of immigration rules and restrictions in the U.S. and see Canada as a friendlier place. So there's just the whole market access, but the other reason why people do look at Canada is our labor quality. We are seen as we're highly educated, highly skilled, and a good work ethic amongst our labor force. So a lot of times they'll be able to find the people that they're looking for a little bit easier here than they can in the U.S. And even though our dollar is increasing, that's not the whole story behind behind labor costs. Actually, the higher skilled, higher end people are actually, unfortunately, paid less in Canada than they are in the U.S. So regardless of the difference in the dollar, you can often hire higher skilled people at a slightly lower cost. And having our public healthcare system makes a big difference in healthcare costs for employers, and our benefit costs overall are lower than they are in the U.S. So there's still some cost advantages for labor being at a high skill side of things. So those are the two things that we really promote, is the gateway concept into the North American marketplace and the quality of the labor force that you can find here. And probably thirdly, of course, quality of life, which makes a difference for attracting and retaining workers. That's a big issue.
Yeah, you're quite right. Attracting and retaining workers. I think Statistics Canada have just come out with a study where they talk about people coming into Canada using this as a springboard to go into the US. So when you mention about the high-tech software people and all professionals, when they get an opportunity, because once they're in Canada, they don't need the H-1B visa, they can still go into US. So is your organization, in cooperation with other organizations, doing something to convince the Canadian government, the new government in this case, that they should open up their immigration policy in such a way that it doesn't take 3 to 5 years for people who want to migrate to Canada, because they're there for a long time and then they think, well, it's not worth it. And a lot of people have moved to Australia and New Zealand.
Well, I have to say we haven't really tackled that one yet, because I know it's a big issue in India. Certainly the New Delhi Immigration Center is the busiest in the world. So there's a huge...
Next to China.
Well, I thought it was, we were told it's the busiest immigration office in the world. So, I don't know, maybe there's a rivalry going on between China and India, but there's certainly a huge demand to come here from those countries, and I think that is a challenge. That's going to continue to be an ongoing challenge.
Anything else you would like to mention about your future plans for the GTMA?
Well, as I mentioned, our plans for India are over a 3-year period. We're really just digesting what happened on that trip, and in fact, we are having an event on April the 7th that will be held at Ryerson University, and we're open to the public that would like to come and hear more about what we learned and what we found out and what those future opportunities are for the Greater Toronto Area. So we'd like to welcome your viewers that are here in the Toronto area to come out on that day. And at that point, we'll be sort of determining what's our next step. I mentioned that Premier McGuinty is planning a large trade mission to India
Next year.
January of 2007, and we'll be looking to see, how will we participate along with that group as well. So that's sort of what we have in store. We also have a committee that works with us that has an interest in India and gives us input and thoughts and advice into what we should be approaching and how we should be, what the opportunities are in that market. So there certainly is a huge amount of interest in India, and everybody wants to know what we did. So that's why we're going to do this public event on April the 7th.
Good. All the best, and look forward to see you on April the 7th.
Thank you very
Maybe
much.
we will have for our viewers a part of the tape from that session on April the 7th, which is at Ryerson University. Stay tuned to South Asian Outlook TV. Thank you very much.
And thank you for having me on your show.
Thanks.